Hello, everybody. I'm Leanne Boas, and I'm a certified handwriting analyst, and I've got a special treat for you today. I'm going to do an analysis of Guy Fieri from the Food Network, his handwriting. Happy birthday, Guy! Oh my God, I love this man. He is like so much of a dynamo, and it shows in his handwriting. And I wanted to show you how great his handwriting is. It's really cool. So without further ado, I'm gonna just move this forward. Okay, he's not a twin. There's not two of them. This world could only take one of him, I think. All right, Guy. If you see this guy, I love you. Don't worry. Okay, let's start with the left. First of all, Guy Fieri has two shows on the Food Network. He has Triple G and Triple D. Triple G is Guy's Grocery Games, and if you haven't watched it, you got to watch it. It's really fun to watch. And some of the chefs there are amazing in how creative they are. And Guy is, of course, a great performer, plus a wonderful chef in his own right. And to the right, we also, oh, I'm sorry, before I forget, we also have, he has another program called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And if you haven't seen that show, it is so entertaining. It's full of information, and it's great to see the different restaurateurs around the country that he goes and visits in his beautiful red vehicle. I think it's a Camaro, but I'm not positive, Guy. But he's that type. I mean, look at the shirt. That sort of tells you. And his handwriting shows that fiery Guy Fieri. So without further ado, I'm going to describe both of these handwriting samples. On the right, he writes "Keep Cookin'," and that's his signature, Guy. And I thought that would be more interesting for you to look at. See the G. First of all, it's large, it's bold, like he is. When someone writes largely, that always means the person's very outgoing, very extroverted. They have a sense of self. The signature shows how a person feels in society, how they view themselves. So that's an individual who's going to be, the way he does it, very self-reliant. See that underline he makes at the end of his signature? That underline always means the individual feels very self-confident, and they feel very self-reliant, very independent in what he wants to achieve, and very driven. And that's true of a lot of celebrities. They figure out a way to underline their name. And even if you're not a celebrity and you underline your name, boy, you're heading for a CEO position. I tell you, if you don't do it now, figure out a way to do it. Don't cross out your name, but definitely underline it, because that shows self-confidence and self-reliance. And it also shows a sense of fluidity of thought too, if it's got a little bit of a flair to it, humor is what I mean. And that's true for him. There's a little bit of a curve on his line, so that indicates humor. And also the line on the left underneath Guy, his signature, in his white shirt saying "Live United," that goes all the way up and to the right. And when someone underlines their name like that, it's a self-reliance, but then it goes upward. And when it goes upward, that means optimism, enthusiasm, joy, passion. So put all that together, and he feels pretty good about himself. I don't think he's a wallflower. And you can see that in his show. If you watch his shows, you'll see that personality come through bright and strong. Now, the other thing is the G, you don't need to put that extender, we call it in handwriting analysis, that goes straight down. That G that goes down and the Y that goes down like a stick, that they both mean determination and tenacity and strength of purpose. He will not quit despite the odds. He's the kind of person you want to have around when things are really hitting the fan, frankly, because he's got this incredible resilience and this persistence, and he will not quit. He won't. He absolutely will not. And I'm sure he's had times in his life where he wanted to quit, but he never would. And that's why he's so successful the way he is. The other thing is, see that I dot to the right on both, more on the right-hand signature. The right-hand signature shows, it looks like a greater than sign, or someone might think it's a seagull in the distance. But it basically shows an individual who's very creative. They're a creative person, very creative problem solver, very quick at figuring out solutions. He goes to solutions immediately in his mind. And because he does the I dot that way, also on cooking, that shows that's who he is. That's a gift. That's a strength of his, that he's a creative problem solver. He's great at getting himself out of jams, and it shows in several ways, but also with that I dot. Now, going to the left, his shirt, Live United, look at the F. Basically saying off the hook. I guess that's one of his phrases. OFF. See how like the F's make like it's sort of like a figure eight almost, two figure eights. That always indicates a very fluid communicator, somebody who's fantastic in speaking verbally and perhaps in writing as well. Because he writes so largely, that means extroversion. It means somebody who's out there, dramatic, very flowing in his thought process and his organizational skills, which one wouldn't think because he's sort of a little all over the place because he's just so enthusiastic, but he's a very organized person in reality. He thinks ahead and he plans ahead. He's not a minuscule detail kind of person, except when he's cooking, but he's very organized in planning and thinking ahead and seeing what's coming down the road. No pun intended, given that's what he does in his show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. He's on the road going to all these restaurants. But anyway, getting back to his left-hand side handwriting sample, those F's always show fluidity of thought. They show very good at figuring out puzzles. Again, that's how I see, in addition to the I dot, that he's very creative in how he gets himself out of a bind and becomes very successful in the process. And Grocery Game sort of reflects that. It reflects what he expects of others, in the sense that they have to figure out what to make out of food based on certain limitations that he prescribes. So if you haven't seen the show, you got to see it. Okay. The other thing is he's probably pretty obstinate at times. Would you say, Guy? I know it's your birthday, so I'll be kind, but you can be obstinate. See the K in hook, off to hook, and then on the right-hand side, see the K in keep cooking. When a K is larger on the top, with the inverted V appearance than the lower portion of the K, that always means a person who's entrepreneurial. They don't like rules. They don't like regulations. Probably not a corporate mindset in that regard. He would really be frightened if he found out he had to be, I don't know, let's say an accountant in a cubicle. I mean, it's just not his persona, and it shows in his handwriting. So he doesn't like to follow rules and regulations. He doesn't like to be told what to do necessarily. He has a little bit of an obstinate streak and an entrepreneurial streak. But he has a lot of rounded connections in his handwriting overall, and that shows, along with all the determination, the independence, the obstinacy, if you will, the passion. He's also very kind. He's very kind-hearted, and you can see the compassion in the E's in keep. See how open they are? The more open the E's are, the more compassionate the person, the more kind they are. So that shows that a very kind soul. And you can see that in some of his shows, in the way he interfaces with other people and just how he socializes and how he communicates. You can tell there's a big heart with this guy. Okay, so let's go to the next screen, and this will be the last one, I believe. Really neat. See that I dot? This one shows even more so. See how it makes a boomerang? That's the I dot that shows creative problem solver and strategic thinker, because it's ahead of the I vertical stem. So it means he's thinking ahead all the time. His mind is always thinking ahead. Because he writes really darkly, I didn't say this earlier, but that means a very sensual person. And it makes sense because culinary professionals, I see more often than not, they all write darkly. And that always means a sensuality. It doesn't mean pretentiousness, but they like fine things. They like fine experiences. And food is certainly a fine experience for almost all of us in this world. So I would say he has a great memory as well, because when someone writes darkly, they're going to remember their experiences, so they don't forget much. And he's really bright too. And I'm not just saying this, guy. You're a really smart guy. I could see it from the hooks that he has on his. See the word team at the top on the left? See that hook at the beginning of the T? That shows he's very hooked into learning new information. He likes to find out new things about people and about philosophies of life. He's very much a thinker. He's not just a doer. So it shows also on the F. See the word family? See how far that crossbar and F goes over? That always means somebody who's like really protective of family. So he's protective of people he loves, and he does have children. I've seen them on your show, Guy. They're fantastic kids. And I imagine that if you try to do anything to anyone that he considers to be, quote, family, you're in a lot of trouble. Because when someone does that and they write so boldly and darkly, and they make like a roof over the A with family, that shows an individual who's going to be very hyper protective of those he loves. So if I ever need someone to protect me, Guy, I'll give you a call. All righty. And I think I covered pretty much his signature before. The F's again, see how they look more like figure eights in this sample. So that's the fluidity of thought that I was talking about a few moments ago. So overall, I think we have a wonderful performer, a fantastic intellect, and don't let it get to your head too much, Guy. It is your birthday, though, so I'm going to tell you all the positives. And the one negative is probably the obstinacy. And, when you get your back up and you're protecting your family, I don't think that would be too pretty. But otherwise, you're just a great soul, really compassionate, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. You're a fun person. You like fun. You like you write largely, so you live life largely. So happy birthday, Guy. And if you want to have your own reading done, or Guy, if you see this, or some of your fans see this and you like to share, follow me on Twitter. The name of this podcast is on InkBlinksRadio. I go on Periscope. You can follow me there. And I also have emails below and the website, InkBlinksRadio.com. And I would love to hear from you, and commentaries or questions are welcome, welcome, welcome. So give me a contact if you want me to do a reading for you. And Guy, happy birthday. Great. I love your shows. I love the people on your shows, and keep up the great work. Take care, Guy. Bye-bye. Bye, fans.